Hey, my name is Lucas Salazar. I taught at Xing Kong in Kunshan for 1 year, their first year actually. And then I've gone back, I guess, every year since, either to revisit the students in school and teacher, or do some supplementary teaching. So I've got a history with that place. It's been a while. So the work-life balance at Xing Kong is pretty great, actually. I mean, you're there for 8 hours a day, and within that, you're teaching somewhere between um, 2.5 to 3.5 hours a day, and then the rest of the time is spent with prep work or maybe some meetings. Sometimes you get a you get a sizable break, about an hour, hour and a half for lunch. But there's except for the first couple weeks when you're sort of getting used to it, there's not a whole lot of take home anything. I mean, nothing is required to take home, but of course, as any teacher knows, if you want to go that extra mile or if you're prepping something for yourself, then you have the option of doing it outside of work. But you're given plenty of time at work in preparation hours to take care of that. It's great. At Xing Kong, I believe right now, and if they're changing it, I'm not exactly sure, but there's been 5 to 6 foreign teachers at all times. And we all share an office. And then from there, sometimes Seth or Courtney or Jackie or some BGL employees will come, whether they're holding meetings or just seeing how the school is going. Um, yeah, so you have a tight knit camaraderie there. Every classroom has one foreign teacher, which would be us, and then at least two local teachers. So generally, I have co-teachers, and sometimes they switch off who's actively teaching and who's doing their own prep work, or sometimes they're both actively teaching. So you have plenty of support in terms of how many people are in the room with you at all times. The student to teacher ratio at Xing Kong, there's generally somewhere between 30 and 36 students in a classroom, but that's divided up, amongst you and your co-teachers. So especially with things like discipline or class management, you're kind of in charge of that, but it's sort of expected that you're working together. You do not need to speak Mandarin, but I found it was a huge help. I actually, when I went to China, I spoke none, but I took some classes with my manager, um, and then from there, I had some online resources I used, and I just pardon me, practiced as much as I could. And then since then, I've moved on and I've lived in Taiwan for a couple years. And no, you don't have to, but it's going to just greatly improve your experience there. I mean, not only will you feel like you can relate to the people and students more, but it also shows you're making an effort. And I think that really goes a long way. I mean, the same could be said for the teachers there who are learning English. It feels nice to know that they're trying to bridge that gap between the two cultures. So I would recommend it for sure. So at Xingkong in Kunshan, China, the curriculum is called Bridges, and that is created by BGL, and it gets updated every year. And I'm actually helping contribute to that with a lot of the songs and some of the editing. And it's building blocks to help the students know how to have conversations. I mean, along with just vocabulary, there's sentence structure and some basic question and answer formats. And there's so many ways to teach all of that. It gives you get a lot of freedom in how you teach that. And either old teachers can help you with some ideas, but you're welcome to come up with ideas on your own. It's the key is to have fun, make it engaging for the kids, but you do have that anchor. You have that thing you can go back to in the curriculum. The daily schedule at Xing Kong, it's changed a little bit throughout the years, but for the most part, you arrive at 8 o'clock. So 8 a.m. you get there and you have just a little bit of time in the office, 20 minutes or so, and then maybe you have gate duty. And gate duty is when you're just at the front door, you're welcoming the students coming in. But if you don't have gate duty, which I think you generally have once a week, then you're in the classroom with your students, and that's a rotating classroom. So either you're with your K1 students, your early learners, or K2 or K3, which is the older levels. And you're in there with them playing games, assisting the teachers. I mean, there's just usually a lot of playtime. So they're reading books or playing with toys or doing some organized dances. And you're just in there having fun with them. Just there's no instruction during that time. You're just there getting to know them, letting them see your face, and forming some rapport. After that, you'll generally have one class for about an hour, and that will be generally K3. So you'll have your older class, and you'll teach them for an hour, and then you'll go right to your K1 class, which is your early learners. And so that in total is about an hour and a half. After that, you have a little bit more office hours, and then it's lunchtime. You have, I think, about an hour and a half or so for lunch, during which time you could stay on campus. Lunch is always provided, or you can leave campus and go get lunch on your own. Generally, you come back around 1 or 1:30, have a little bit more office hours, and then you have your afternoon class, which is generally about an hour to an hour, 15 minutes, but they have a 15-minute snack time in there. Once that's finished, then you hang around with the class, you walk them out, you stay with them, back to the office for about the last 10 minutes of the day, and then you're done. It's pretty easy, pretty convenient. Yeah. Kunshan, China it's an interesting place. It's about 45 minutes from Shanghai, which is one of the places you're probably familiar with, which is the big city. Kunshan is about 45 miles away from that, so you can get to it by bus. It's a sleepy town. I mean, it's got I think about 1 million people, but where the school is and where you'll be living, it's not near the center of town. You do have things like a shopping center, grocery stores nearby, but the center of the city is a few miles away, which is accessible by bicycle or bus or taxi. Taxis are super cheap. There's some people have found different niches in there. I mean, there's live music venues, there are bars, there are restaurants. If you're really looking for an active art scene or nightlife, you'll probably want to go on down the road to Shanghai for the most part, but it can be found in Kunshan. The challenges of working in Kunshan. Well, for one, it's not like an international city like you might find in Taipei or Seoul or Shanghai. So there's not a whole lot of expats, and if there are, they're not really living in this part of town. So there'll be a lot of times where, for instance, the language barrier or just how to operate, trying to order food somewhere might not be catered for an English speaker. The driving is not the best, so you just pay attention. It seems like all of the rules of the road are merely suggestions in Kunshan, China. So just look around for that. I myself, I kind of like a more active art scene, music scene. I like art, museums or performances, things like that. And for that, I found myself going to Shanghai a lot. Kunshan there's not always a lot going on there, but you can find it. And there are Facebook groups or there was a blog that we all found, started by one guy living in Kunshan that kind of connected us with a lot more people in the city. But I found I get a little antsy when there's not things going on all around me. So Kunshan was a little slower pace than I like, but for some people that's exactly what they want. China is a pretty safe place, especially Kunshan. I mean, I never felt unsafe. I don't know if anybody else ever felt unsafe. I would be surprised if they did. But China's people don't, there doesn't seem to be a lot of the worries you might have in America of like, is this a bad neighborhood? Is this a good neighborhood? Is this person out to hurt me? No, I never felt unsafe in China. Now, when you get to a bigger city like Shanghai, you might have that element. But again, I never felt unsafe, but it's always best to take care of yourself. The one thing that I would say about Shanghai is that there are scams people try and run, and they try to take advantage of naive foreigners. But that's in the packet that you will receive. Read that packet, and you'll be ready for them, like I was. The pollution in Shanghai or in China overall, it's not regulated very well, so it gets pretty gray. The skies every once in a while open up and they're beautiful and blue and cloudy, but for the most part, factories are kind of allowed to emit with reckless abandon. Personally, I didn't suffer too much from it. Sometimes it maybe makes a cough that wouldn't be so persistent a bit more persistent. I think some people maybe had headaches every once in a while, but I personally didn't really feel it too bad, so I didn't notice. So I hope that answered some of your questions for this journey you're about to embark upon. If you have any questions and you'd like to ask me personally, feel free to talk to anybody at BGL and you can exchange my information. I give my permission. All right, take care. Good luck. I'm excited for you. Bye-bye.